everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this particular tutorial, we are going to see how we can do null value check in a Hive table. So for this, we have already logged in into the Docker's quick start machine, and I have already created a table with employee details. So let me first show you the table. So if I just do select star from employee, then these are the contents. I have already loaded a few rows into the table, and as you can see here, there are some of the records for which the value of this particular column. Now this is ID. The first column is ID, second one is name, third one is age, fourth one is gender, and this is salary. Okay, some number you can just refer this. So if you can see here, for the seventh record, age and salary is null, and for the fifth record with name as Sam, the value for the salary column is null. So now what we want to say is how we can apply, or how we can have some checks where the null values are there. Okay, so for this, Hive has three functions. The first one is isnull, second one is not null, and third one is something called as NVL. Okay, as you can see here, these are the three functions. I'm gonna give all these Hive commands to create the table, then how we can load the data into the table into the description box, because I have already created this table for you. So if you wanted to create the similar table, you can just follow these instruction whichever I'll give in the description. But as you can see here, there are three functions that are mainly used when it comes to checking null values in the Hive. Okay, so let's see how we can make use of this isNull function. So basically, this particular isNull function can be used in two ways. First one is you can use this particular function in the select clause itself. Okay, so you can use this function in the select clause itself, or you can use this particular function as a where clause, as a conditional parameter, we can say. Okay, so let's see how we can use it in the select clause. Now if you take a look at the data, let's say we wanted to check, like, out of all these 5-6 rows, to which for which particular row the age column is having the null value. We wanted to have a boolean value. If there is a age column, or the value for the age column is present, then it should return true. If it has the null values, then it will return false. Okay, so what you can do is select. Now the first column is name, and then here you can write is null and name of the column from employee. So let's see the output first, so that it will be more clear for you. Now as you can see, what we are asking here is select name comma is null age. So this particular function always returns a boolean value, as you can see here, right? It has returned false, 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 and true. So what it does is it just check this particular column and check if there is an actual value or the value is null. If there is a certain value for that particular column, then it will return false because it is not null value. And here what we are asking is whether this particular column has null value or not, right? So as you can see, for this seventh record Anna, the value for age column is null, and that's where it has written the true boolean value. Okay, but for rest of all these records, it has written the false value. Okay, so this is the use of this is null column in the select clause, that it always checks if the value, corresponding value that we have passed for this particular column is null or not. If it is null, then it will return true. If the actual value is present, then it will always return the false as a boolean value. Now there is one more function called as is not null, which behaves exactly in opposite ways. Okay, so if you just make this is null as is not null, then let's see what output we are going to see. So what it is doing, it is behaving exactly in an opposite way as that of is null function, that wherever we have the null value, there it is gonna return you the false, as a boolean value because we are asking is not null. Okay, so this is how it behaves in the select clause, that it will return you with a boolean value based on the condition or the way you are passing this particular function. Okay, now let's see how we can use this particular function in the where clause. Now let's take a scenario where what we want to do is we wanted to name or we wanted to display the names of the employee where the salary is null. Okay, so select name from employee, right? I think there is a typo. Select name from employee where is null salary. You can just type it is null salary. So what it will do is it will just scan all the records, and wherever it will find the value for the salary column as null, it is going to return us these names. So ideally the expected output of this particular query is Sam and Anna. So let's see. So it has selected the Sam and Anna, and the reason is that this particular thing has the null values in the salary column, all these two names. But if you just check the rest of the values, then the actual salary component or the values for this particular column are present. Okay, now again if you just do is not null here, then it is going to return us all the names where the salary is not null. That means some value, some valid value is present as a value of that particular column. So here we are going to see these four names as output: Santosh, Vaibhav, Rohan and Akshay. So as I mentioned, Santosh, Vaibhav, Rohan and Akshay. So all these four employees have certain type of value or have certain number here in the salary column, and that's where it is returning us the names of the employee where the salary is not null. Okay, so this is how we can use this is null or is not null function. In either you can use it in the select clause like we have seen it previously, or you can use it in the where clause. And this particular, like more specifically, the use of is null or is null function in the where clause is very useful when it comes to query the data. Like let's say if you there is a huge data set, and if you wanted to find all, based on certain criteria whether this particular column is null or not, and based on that you want to select some specific columns. Okay, then in that case this particular column is, or this particular function is very useful. Then there is one more function in the in that Hive supports, which is called as NVL. Okay, so what it does is, like wherever you will see the value as null, it is going to replace this particular null value with some default value. Now for example, having the null values in a table is something which is not actually recommended, right? That we should always have some kind of value instead of null. It becomes little easy to look at that particular data. If you wanted to do some kind of analysis over that particular data, it becomes little easy when you have some actual values in that particular column instead of null, right? So this is the exact thing that this NVL function does. Let's see how we can use that. So now for example, for this seventh record, right, the employee with ID is equal to 7 Anna, the null value that we have in the age column, we wanted to, let's say, replace it with minus 999. Okay, so how we can write the query is select name comma NVL age. You can pass like whichever value you wanted to replace with some kind of default value, you can write it here. Let's say we wanted to replace wherever the null value for the age column is there, we wanted to replace that with the minus 99. So you can, this is how you can write it: NVL name of the column for which you wanted to replace the null value with some default value. Here the default value that we are going to pass is minus 99, and the table name from employee. So as you can see, for rest of all the columns it has displayed whatever value you have in the age, but wherever for this Anna, the since the value of age is null, it has replaced that with the minus 99, right? And the same thing will happen for the salary as well. So if you just replace this age column by the salary, and let's say the salary value by minus 99999, then it is going to do the same thing. Like here for Sam and Anna, we have the null values for the salary column, so it has replaced those two values by minus 99999. Rest of the values are still the same, which are into the table. Okay, so this is how this NVL function works, and the beauty of this particular function is it becomes little easy to do some kind of analysis. Now instead of putting the checks like is null or is not null, you can do some kind of actual value. You can put the actual value as minus 999 and interpret as, let's say, if you get the minus 9999 value, then there is no salary for this particular employee. This is how you can interpret it, and it becomes a little easy to analyze this particular data. Instead of, if you see some kind of actual value instead of null value, it becomes little easy to see this particular data or to read this particular data. Okay, so this is how, guys, we have seen three functions which helps us to check the null values. The first one is null, second one is not null, and the third one is NVL. Okay, so thanks guys, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.